Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. It is a lovely fall autumn day here in Oldham County, Kentucky. The weather is about 75, 77 degrees today. It's been really nice out. It's beautiful out here. All the trees and the leaves on the trees are starting to change color, so it's that really pretty time of the year where you get to see all the variations in the oranges and the yellows and the colors. So as far as the bees are concerned, we're at that time of year where we are trying to get the appropriate weight on the colonies. We're trying to get sugar syrup on the colonies. We want to get these singles to about 70 pounds. I only use singles, so I don't have any double deeps, but if you do have double deeps, you want to get those to around 90 pounds to get them ready for the winter time, for the overwintering when the bees are going to cluster. Each one of these colonies over here is very close to weight. I've still got 3 colonies left here that I probably need to give a little bit more food. Sorry, allergies are bad this time of year too, guys. But yeah, so continuing to feed. And the other thing that we're doing this time of year is mite treatments. And my particular mite treatment of choice for this time of year is oxalic acid. And that's what this stuff is. And it's, you know, a couple reasons I like it this time of year. Number one, these colonies are going into and towards a broodless or very small brood period of time. So, you know, that queen is not going to lay a lot of bees that she has to feed and the colony has to feed throughout the entire overwintering process, you know, to get ready to go into a time period where these bees are going to cluster. You've got the fat bees that the queen has already started to lay. Those bees are going to have to last until the March-April time frame. And so they've got, you know, more fat bodies, the ability to live a lot longer. The average female bee worker lives 45, 55-ish days, whereas these bees will live several months. And so the reason for that is you need enough bees to keep that cluster warm throughout the winter period, and they're not able to get out and forage or anything else. They're going to stay clustered throughout that entire winter time frame. So the less bees, the less you have to feed, the less food that's required, which is another reason why they kick the drones out. But also, you want the bees that are in there need to be able to survive throughout the entire winter time period. So it's kind of a balance, but generally speaking, winter clusters are not huge. Nothing like you would see in the springtime when the bees are really ramping up in population. So this is that time of year where the bees start to taper off, the queen laying gets down significantly. And so because of that, oxalic acid is a really nice mite treatment of choice. Reason being is oxalic acid does not penetrate capped brood cells. So think about in the springtime when you've got frame after frame, end to end, wall to wall of capped brood, oxalic acid is not a really good treatment during that time frame. So you really want to treat with oxalic acid when there's a lot of either open brood in the hive or very little brood in the hive or very little capped brood in the hive, and that's now. And I will continue to treat as we go into the Thanksgiving time frame. So I've already done 1 round of oxalic acid treatments last week. This is the 2nd round. I will do 2 more rounds, 1 week apart. And someone may say, well, why are you doing that? You know, what's the efficacy of oxalic acid? What's the kill rate? It's pretty high for the phoretic mites, and those are the mites that are physically attached to the adult bees. Those are not mites that are, you know, attached to larvae or pupa that's underneath the capped brood cell. This is also a period, a broodless period for drones, and the Varroa Destructor Mite prefers drone brood over worker bee brood. So again, another great time period to be using oxalic acid because there's no drones in these colonies anymore, or definitely no drone brood this time of year. So all the phoretic mites that are attached to the bee's back, they really have no chance against oxalic acid. So there is still some brood in these hives. Like I said, small amount, it is tapering off. Well, the oxalic acid isn't going to penetrate that capped brood. And so if you do an oxalic acid treatment once every 4 weeks, you get through an entire brood cycle. And so it's the next best thing. It's not perfect. It's not going to kill every single mite, but it's really important to get your mite loads as down as humanly possible going into this winter clustering, overwintering period. So that's what I'm doing. So every single hive is getting a round of oxalic acid treatment 4 weeks in a row. I've been doing it every weekend. So, and then again, I'll probably do one final round late November, Thanksgiving time frame, when there should be practically no brood in the hive. So the other really thing about this that's really nice, this stuff is super cheap. I mean, you're talking pennies per treatment. So I get this off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description if you want to pick up some oxalic acid. So how do we treat colonies with oxalic acid? Well, there's a couple of methods. There's a dribble method, which is where you take oxalic acid and you put it in liquid form, and you open the colony and you literally dribble the oxalic acid from a syringe onto the bees through the in between each frame. Does it work? Yeah. Is it my preferred method? No. I prefer vaporizing oxalic acid, and so this is one of many different vaporizers that you can find on the market. Several different companies make them. There's all different kinds. There's ones that are more of like an iron style that you would insert into the front of the hive. My personal experience, and I have one of those, and I used it a few times, I was like, there's got to be a better way than this. So that's where I bought this. But it works. But I find it very intrusive. I find that it makes the bees mad. I find that I have to light a smoker and come out here and smoke the hives to get them to calm down just to be able to treat with oxalic acid. With this one, I can treat from the back of the colonies and they don't really know what hit them. Do some of the bees pour out because they don't like the oxalic acid vapor? Sure, of course. But it's less intrusive than shoving something in the entrance of the hive and the bees think it's, you know, something coming to attack them. So that's been my experience. The vaporizer that I use is Lorobbees, Lorobbees. This is not a paid endorsement. I bought this with my own hard-earned money, and I think it's a fantastic vaporizer. I've been using it, I think, a couple years now. It does wonders. It does a really good job. It has this, I don't know basically this box that has a sort of a digital display on the back and the ability to change a few settings, but it comes ready straight out of the package. And essentially what this does is you plug it into an extension cord, and fortunately I do have power nearby, and so I'm able to power this without needing any sort of inverter. I have friends that use portable generators to get power out to their bee yard. Whatever it is, however you can get power, if you can get AC power to this, it works really well. So this box really is doing nothing more than the control system that heats an element that is wrapped around this little sort of copper bowl that has an elongated pipe on the end of it. And so it gets really, 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 really hot. I mean, above 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And so why? The oxalic acid in its natural form there is in a, it's a bit of a, it's not really a powder, but it's, it almost has the consistency of table salt. So it's like little crystals, okay? So you put your oxalic acid, and I'll show you this as I'm doing it, but you put your oxalic acid in these little rubber bowls that comes with this, and then you heat this up to over 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you set your bowl down, invert your vaporizer so it doesn't quickly dump the crystals until you're ready to. Then you insert this into the back of the hive, rotate the vaporizer, tap, tap, tap to get those crystals to fall into the bowl that's at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and it, I believe the term is sublimates. So it takes the crystals, the oxalic acid, from a solid form into a vapor form, which just permeates throughout the entire colony here. Now, obviously the ambient temperature is only 75, 77 degrees, so that vapor is going to quickly cool down back towards room temperature, ambient temperature, and when it does so, it turns back into a solid. So I believe, again, I think the term is sublimate, turns back into a solid, and those crystals, those solid little tiny little pieces of oxalic acid are everywhere in the hive, all over the bees, and more importantly, all over any phoretic mites that are attached to the bees. And it's almost an immediate kill. I've treated hives with oxalic acid, waited like 5 minutes, pulled out the IPM board, and just noticed the amount of mite drop. The worst I ever had was a swarm that I caught, which is another excellent time to treat with oxalic acid, because naturally a swarm has no brood. So you throw a swarm into a brand new box, go ahead and treat them with oxalic acid. It's cheap, it's easy, it's quick. And that colony, the next day when I came out here, 24 hours later, I pulled out the IPM board and I lost count at 300 mites. 300 mite drop on that colony. So they probably absconded from their previous home due to the mite loads. I believe that I single-handedly saved that colony because the amount of disease and viruses that the Varroa Destructor Mite is a vector for, that colony was doomed to fail, and they ended up doing well in the yard. So again, oxalic acid is a great treatment. It's cheap, and I really like this vaporizer. So I'm going to go ahead and take you through that process. Let's see what else. Oh, so safety. This stuff is an acid. It's oxalic acid. So whenever you're treating with this stuff, there's some PPE that is an absolute must, and that is a I forget what this is called, just a mask, a ventilator, I believe. Sorry, I was having a brain fart there. So, and I'll put a link to this on Amazon as well. This is a 3M P100, and so it is able to filter out any oxalic acid that's in the air, because the last thing you want to do, folks, is suck this stuff down your lungs. It is an acid. It can be very damaging to your lungs. And no, the wind's not blowing today, it's not windy, but this stuff, when it sublimates and turns into a vapor, it goes everywhere, literally. And you can't even see it all the time. Yeah, you can see some of it, but you really want to be careful. You only get one pair of lungs in your life. Take good care of them. Do yourself a favor. Go ahead and buy a ventilator, some type of mask that's going to afford you the protection from the vapor that could come out in the air. The other thing, and maybe a little less critical, but have some sort of eye protection. Whenever I treat, as soon as I start the treatment, I walk away anyway. So I usually go a good, 20, 30 feet away from the hive, just to try to stay away from all that oxalic acid vapor that's in the air. But I usually just put on safety glasses just as a precaution. What else? I think that's it. As far as the amount of oxalic acid per colony, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and I'm telling you all this now because when I actually treat, I'm gonna have the mask on and everything. I'm not gonna be able to talk. You're not gonna be able to hear me. So I believe it is, oh, don't quote me on this, like quarter of a, and this is a teaspoon measurement, quarter of a teaspoon, and I forget how many grams that is, per deep. Now I only have singles, so I only use the 1 scoop. Now, that is the, I believe it's FDA legally approved amount to treat per colonies. If you read a lot online, I think Randy Oliver's done some research on this as well as some others. Really the efficacy, the better kill rates for oxalic acid is a higher dosage amount. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to advocate for that. I'm going to say what the legal dose is, and you're going to do what you would like. You're going to do your own research and do your own studying and do your own analysis and treat your hives and see what works best for you. That's all I can say, and I'm going to leave that alone. So, but yeah, this stuff is super cheap. So again, you can burn through it, and a little goes a very long way with this stuff. It'll last you forever. So, Lorobbees gives you 5 of these little rubber sort of holders for the oxalic acid. They get very hot during treatment, obviously, but they don't burn. And it's best to kind of rotate them because, and you're going to want to wear gloves while doing this because this gets very hot. And when you insert it into the back and turn it over, this is extremely hot. So I'll wear gloves. That's another PPE that you should have. I have a rag on hand that I use. Just, you want to make sure, because this stuff will burn you very bad. It's very, very hot. As far as what is needed if you're going to do this in the back of the hive. So the back of every one of my hives, I've drilled a 1/4 inch hole about 1 inch up from the bottom of the lower deep. And this little tube from this copper bowl, when you have the oxalic acid dose in here, this is heated up over 400 degrees and ready to go. You'll turn this upside down. With gloves on, and a rag. You will press down on this firmly to seat the bowl into the cup into the copper bowl. You'll keep it upside down. You'll insert it into the back of that hole, and then you will rotate it and tap on the top and leave it there for about 5 minutes while that oxalic acid sublimates and starts shooting out of here at a very rapid level and vaporizes and just throws oxalic acid vapor everywhere through this hive. If you have screen open bottom boards like I do, you want to make sure that you put your IPM boards in. Technically, you want to seal up the hive as best you could. Technically, you should seal the front entrance. I do not do that. I call it well enough and good because I'm trying to treat quickly and get through these colonies. So I do not seal that up, but you do want to make sure that you put your IPM board in. And then you want to leave that in there for at least 24 hours. Right now, we're at the time of the year where these IPM boards are going to be staying in anyway. We're going into the winter time frame. So just due to temperatures here in Kentucky and it's getting colder, these IPM boards are going to stay in anyway. But if you've got solid bottom boards, you don't have to worry about this. But with screen bottom boards, make sure you put that in there. Otherwise, all the vapor is just going to fall out of the bottom of your hive, of your colony here. What else? Am I forgetting anything? Safety. Oh, I do keep nails because the 1/4 inch hole in the back of the colony, the bees will propolize on the inside, obviously. So before every treatment, I'll just take this 1/4 inch nail, stick it in there, open that propolis so that when I insert this, the vaporizer into the back of the colony here, it's not just shooting into a propolized opening where it all shoots back at me, right? So just a lot of common sense with this stuff, folks. What else? This particular vaporizer, they're not cheap. If you go on to Lorobbees' website, I believe this one's about $280, $285. I'll put a link in the description of all this stuff for you. They have a really nice, fancy one that I would love to get my hands on. It's basically this, but it's portable. So it's powered by your standard DeWalt 20-volt battery, whether that's a 4 amp, 5 amp, 6 amp. And it's really beneficial for the commercial folks that are going yard to yard to yard and there's no power anywhere. They don't want to lug a generator around, situation like that. And that one I think retails for close to $500. But honestly, if you're a commercial beekeeper and that's saving you that much time, it's saving you that much money. So you get one of those, you buy yourself 2 or 3 batteries and you can knock out a yard in no time flat, not have to worry about power. My buddy Dave Hansberry has one, and I'm a little envious. It's nice. It's dare I say it, it's the bee's knees. So, but yeah, go ahead and head to their website, check it out. There's a lot of other suppliers out there. There's the Pro Vape, I believe, is the other brand. You know, that one's a little pricey. The irons that I was talking about before, those are cheaper. I believe you can get those maybe Man Lake or, you know, several different beekeeping suppliers carry them, but I want to say those run around 100 to 150 maybe. Might be able to catch one on sale. So if you're in a pinch and you just need one that works and you're not worried about using the front entrance and you're fine smoking your bees, and then by all means, it's a good option. I've been very, very happy and satisfied with this one though. It's just, it's super quick and easy, and I can knock out, you know, I have 10 colonies right now. I can knock these out in as little as a half hour, 45 minutes. So, which to me, I don't have a lot of free time in my life right now. So every minute counts. So let's go ahead and suit up. I'm gonna put all my PPE on and I will show you guys 1 or 2 hives, treating them, what it looks like, how I do it. And you know, if you have any questions, be sure to put them down below in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer any question that you all may have on this. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, well that's another round of oxalic acid in the books. I really like how quick and easy it is to treat the hives with this vaporizer gun, the Lorobbees vaporizer gun, and a round of oxalic acid. It's really effective, it's quick, it's easy. You can just go hive to hive to hive, knock this out in about, depending on how big your yard is, of course, but I just went through all 10 hives in about 45 minutes. So that's pretty quick in my book. So 2 rounds down, 2 more rounds to go. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier, I do get questions if you're allowed to treat colonies with oxalic acid while you have honey supers on. And technically the answer is yes. Oxalic acid is naturally occurring. It's naturally occurring out in the wild. It's in, don't quote me on this, Google it. I think it's plant matter has some oxalic acid in it. Double check that for me. But yeah, you technically can. They've done studies, and the residue that's left with oxalic acid in the comb over time is minimal to none. Do I personally treat my hives with honey supers on with oxalic acid? And the answer is no. And that's just a personal choice. I do not use any miticides or any treatments while I have honey supers on the hive. To me, you can take care of your mites before and you can take care of your mites afterwards. And that's just my personal IPM, which stands for Integrated Pest Management, protocol. That's just what I do personally. I do not treat for mites while I have honey supers on. Now, if I had a colony that was collapsing due to mite loads that had like I was talking about earlier, 300 phoretic mites, would I use Formic Pro or Mite Away Quick Strips while I had honey supers on? Absolutely, guaranteed. because it's more important to kill the mites and not have a dead colony on your hands than it is to use miticides or any mite treatments while you have honey supers on. Those that I just named, the formic acids, are 100% safe and proven effective to use with honey supers on, and that does penetrate the capped brood. So if you Google, there's lots of websites out there that show you the pros and cons of every mite treatment. I personally use oxalic acid and the thymol-based Apiguard for my colonies. That's just what I do. Your mileage may vary and you may choose to do something different. So I'm quickly running out of daylight here, and my wife's calling me, telling me it's time to come in and get dinner and help take care of the kids. So I hope you all appreciated this video. Be sure to check the description. I'll have links in there for the vaporizer and the other stuff that I've used, the PPE that I used today. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. So I really appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you on the next one.